Billionaire Harasses Waitress father arrives in helicopter with a shocking proposal at 3 a.m. The night was thick with tension. It was 3 in the morning when the spotlight lit up the downtown diner, a neon oasis with flickering lights. Inside, the clinks of silverware bounced off the tile like thunder, but it was Lily, the waitress, who felt the most deafening silence as she approached the table. There he was, Jason Reed, the billionaire with a reputation for making waves. His designer suit clung to his frame like an anchor, and his piercing gaze felt like a knife. He leaned back, smirking as if he owned the world, and in his eyes, he might as well have. But it wasn't just the wealth that made him unsettling. He had a way of pushing boundaries, of speaking with a casual cruelty that made the air feel electric. "Pour me another coffee, sweetheart," he commanded, his voice dripping with arrogance. Every eye in the diner turned toward them, tension bubbling like a pot left to boil. You could hear a pin drop, the patrons hanging onto every word. Outside, shadows danced beneath the streetlights, as if the city itself was watching, waiting. Suddenly, a low hum filled the air, growing louder until it drowned out the din. Everyone turned their heads, and through the glass, they saw a spotlight cutting through the night sky, a helicopter slicing through the darkness. The noise ramped up, hearts raced. It felt as if the very breath of the city had been snatched away. As the chopper landed on the rooftop nearby, Lily's heart pounded. Who could it be? The atmosphere was thick with mystery, and she felt a knot forming in her stomach. "Is that your dad?" she choked out, attempting to mask her rising panic with a shaky smile. But Jason just chuckled, his eyes glimmering with mischief. With a thud, the helicopter blade slowed and the cabin door swung open. A tall figure emerged cloaked in darkness, silhouetted against the spinning lights. Was it truly his father? The looks on the other diners' faces were a mixture of disbelief and morbid curiosity. Just then, Jason leaned in closer, his breath hot against Lily's cheek. "You're about to witness something you'll never forget," he whispered wickedly, words curling like smoke between them. Everyone's eyes widened as the figure walked towards the diner. But then, the faintest flicker of hope caught Lily off guard. A couple of man and woman moved close to her table, flashing her reassuring smiles. It was a moment of relief that made her chest lighten, just for a second. But the seriousness of the situation came rushing back when the man stepped into sight, his sharp suit igniting memories, his face twisted strangely familiar. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." The doors swung open, and the buzz of voices and laughter from outside spilled in. That was when the father, with a commanding presence, approached Lily directly, his eyes burning with intensity. "You, my dear," he said, scanning her as if deciding her fate. "You're exactly what we need." Seconds felt like hours as she held her breath, caught between confusion and dread. What did that mean? And how deep did this twisted game run? The diner felt smaller now, barely containing the secrets growing like weeds around her. Just then, Jason reached for her wrist, his grip as firm as iron, his intent clearer than ever. "Don't you dare walk away from this." As the air thickened with unspoken words, she glanced around. The onlookers held their breath, eyes locked on the drama unfolding, like the final scene of a cliffhanger movie. The noise faded, and all Lily could hear was the chaotic thump of her heart. And then the question hung heavily in the air. What shocking proposal was about to unfold, and how would it embroil her in a life she never wanted? The silence stretched, heavy and pulsing, as the world outside faded into the distance, locked in its own chaos. Lily's eyes flicked between Jason and his father, whose imposing figure loomed closer. She felt trapped, like a moth caught in a web, unsure of the impending warmth of light that beckoned her forward or the lethal jaws that lay in wait. "Exactly what we need," repeated the father, his voice low but steady, slicing through the tension like a honed blade. Each word dripped with authority, a tone meant to shatter dissent. The diners exchanged glances of shock and disbelief, like spectators at a gladiatorial match, eagerly awaiting the clash. What do you mean? Lily's voice came out sharper than she intended, her fear wrestling against a stubborn ember of defiance. She was no one's pawn. But Jason shifted closer, a smirk still dancing on his lips. Oh, you'll find out, trust me. My father only offers opportunities that will reshape your life forever. The air crackled around them. Her mind raced, grappling with his words. Onlookers watched, rapt with attention, some daring enough to murmur, "What is going on? And is she really going to listen to them?" The buzz of voices felt like a restless swarm, sizzling with curiosity and judgment. "Lily," the father interjected, dark eyes boring into her, "this is your chance. We can give you the world. All you have to do is say yes." A rush of adrenaline coursed through her veins. Every instinct screamed to flee, to escape the dizzying frenzy closing in around her. Yet, that same adrenaline pulled her to the flames. The allure of something bigger, a life beyond this diner, beyond the coffee spills and grumpy patrons tempted her. "What do I have to do?" She found herself asking, her voice barely above a whisper. "Join me at my company. We need someone genuine, someone with spirit, and you fit that mold perfectly," he said, his eyes glinting like polished steel. "Help us with our latest project. You won't just be a waitress anymore." Fear wrestled with intrigue within her. How much was she willing to gamble for a different life? The diner felt smaller now, each table closing in like confining walls. She felt faint yet fully alive, every nerve ending tingling at the prospect of change, even as her heart raced in doubt. Before she could respond, Jason squeezed her wrist tighter, his grip a possessive lock. "Don't think this is easy. They don't play nice. Danger lurks in every corner of this world you're about to step into," he warned, a flicker of genuine concern breaking through his otherwise cold demeanor. "But with me at your side, you won't face it alone. Are you really suggesting that I partner up with a monster?" She shot back, pulling her wrist from his grasp. At that moment, conversation swelled again, the diner erupting in murmurs, eyes darting between Lily and the enigmatic family that loomed over her. Some wanted to eavesdrop, others hastily dropped their forks, enthralled by a drama far more gripping than their own mundane lives. "Listen," the father said, leaning closer. "This is not about pity. It's about power. You could be part of something transformative. With the right allies, you can rise, but it requires courage. A choice. A choice." Each heartbeat thudded painfully as the weight of his proposition sank in. And as she looked around at all the faces watching her, judging, speculating, she felt the shadows grow longer. Then Lily's gaze caught someone at the edge of her periphery. The couple from earlier, those warm smiles, now distorted by the flickering neon light. Were they allies or enemies? Would they be there when the truth unfolded? She could feel an invisible thread pulling her toward them. As she stood there, a storm inside her brewing. The enormity of her decision swirled around her. What was she willing to risk for a chance at a life beyond her wildest dreams? And was she prepared for the darkness it might bring? The questions loomed, heavy and urgent. This was just the beginning, and with one decisive moment, everything could change forever. Lily's heart raced like a freight train as she stood amid the drama unfolding in the diner. The world outside, filled with late-night life, sounded distant, muted by the intensity of what was happening around her. The laughter and clatter beyond the glass seemed like echoes of another life, one she was about to leave behind. "What do you say?" Jason's father pressed on, his voice oozing charm but edged with an iron grip of authority. The yearning in his expression sent shivers down her spine. It felt like an invitation to step onto a stage, but the spotlight seared. She began, but words eluded her. Every part of her wanted to say no, to flee this suffocating proposition. Yet, the tiny voice whispering about adventure, success, realness battled against her instincts. "Come on, Lily. Think about it." Jason leaned in closer, his breath warm and slightly intoxicating, almost like the smell of fresh coffee, inviting yet deceptive. "You could finally break free from this place. Don't you want something more?" With each word, he pulled her deeper into the black hole that was his family's invisible web of power. She glanced once more at the couple, their faces now taut with intrigue. Were they on her side? The questions surged, but one answer pulsed louder than the rest. The risk was overwhelming. Taking a deep breath, she declared, "What if I say no?" A tense silence enveloped the room, gripping it like a vice. The father's grin faded, replaced by a steely focus. "If you refuse, everything goes back to what it was. This booth, this diner, your mundane life." Around her, voices faded into a thick fog. She gripped the edge of the table, feeling the veneer under her fingertips. Her doubt twisted into a knot in her stomach, even as excitement thrummed beneath it. "If you think you can scare me into saying yes, you're wrong," she shot back, trying to keep her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. Her defiance felt like a flicker of candlelight against looming darkness, but she needed that spark. "Oh, we're not trying to scare you." He leaned back, crossing his arms. "We're trying to inspire you. If you want a taste of power, this is a golden opportunity. Just think, what if you could finally make a real impact? What makes you think I want your brand of impact?" She spat, the fire in her chest rising. "I don't know you. You could tear my life apart." Jason's father chuckled softly, a chilling sound that sent ripples through the diner's atmosphere. "Isn't that what you're really afraid of? Losing what you know? The ordinary? It's the change that should thrill you, not frighten you. Why does it matter to you so much?" She countered, glancing around to catch the onlookers' rapt expressions. "It matters because I see potential in you, Lily. A true diamond waiting to be crafted." His gaze pierced through her defenses. "Don't dismiss the possibility." The diner felt like it had tilted, shifting his world and hers closer together, almost magnetically. Every heartbeat echoed the question, how far could she go? Just then, a crash shattered the tension. A waiter dropped a tray, silverware clattering across the floor like gunfire. Gasps erupted. The festive hum outside the window jolted back to life, but inside felt frozen again. "Maybe I should get back to work," Lily said, turning to walk away, but Jason intercepted her. "Look, just think about it. You're at a crossroads. We can help you find your way." She flicked her gaze back to the smiling couple, who now stood, their expressions a mix of encouragement and uncertainty. Were they witnesses or allies? What did they know? The air vibrated with questions, and as she turned back to face Jason and his father, uncertainty coiling tighter in her chest, she instinctively knew she had to make a choice. The stakes were elevating, and her next words would either shatter everything or ignite a new path. What if she stepped into this unknown world? What if she didn't? Infinitely complex. Her decision loomed, and there was more waiting in the shadows beyond this diner. When did every moment become a gamble? The pristine facade of her life was starting to crack. At that moment, all eyes were on her, waiting for her next move. What would she decide? The weight of the choice loomed large, and as the diner buzzed back to life, she could feel danger creeping in. Would she embrace the darkness for a chance at the light? What awaited her on the other side of that departure? Lily took a shaky breath. Everything inside her screamed to run, to flee this gilded cage they offered her. But the glimmer of possibility, the allure of something different, gnawed at her resolve. What if this was it? What if she missed the chance to ignite her life, spark something extraordinary? "Just give me a moment," she muttered, the words tumbling out like gravel on a slick surface. She turned away from Jason and his imposing father, striding to the corner of the diner where the old jukebox hummed a familiar tune, her favorite song lost in the chaos. Listening to it felt like grasping for a lifeline. The familiar ambience of the diner, the smell of greasy fries and stale coffee pulled her in with nostalgia, and for a moment, she lost herself in memories. Friends giggling over milkshakes, playing trivia games, making plans for the future. But was that future enough? Jason approached, his expression shifting from eagerness to concern. "Lily, you're overthinking it. This could be your way out. You've got the drive, we can help you channel it." "Channel what?" She spun to face him, anger flaring. "You're offering me a one-way ticket into a life I don't know, on terms I don't understand." His gaze flickered as if he wrestled with his own truth. "It could be the best decision you ever make." Behind him, his father watched, arms crossed and lips tight. He was the wolf in sheep's clothing, and Lily felt like a deer caught in his sights. The weight of his gaze pinned her to the spot. The smiling couple she noticed before had turned their attention fully on her, their expressions caught between fascination and a warning. Did they know something she didn't? Was this a game to them too? Is it really about the opportunity? Lily demanded, her voice slicing through the diner's growing buzz. Or is it about controlling me? Her heartbeat echoed in her ears, drowning out the world, and she wished she could erase the last few moments to breathe clean air again. Control? Jason's father laughed, but it was humor devoid of warmth. We seek leaders, not puppets. You think of it as control. I think of it as guidance. Guidance is slow. Control is fast, she countered, feeling the crowd thicken behind her, a living wall of tension. Suddenly, an engine roared overhead, drowning out her words. Everyone looked up, and with a jarring thud, a helicopter landed outside the diner. The blades whipped the air, churning up an unexpected whirlwind that instantly pulled attention away from her. What the hell? She whispered, adrenaline spiking again. Jason looked back, panic flickering in his eyes before he turned back to her, determination seeping back in. Just stay here. Last chance, Lily. If we don't go now, the moment will vanish. What? She shot back, her mind racing. Who just lands a helicopter at a diner? Believe me, it's better not to ask, he muttered, more to himself than her. The doors of the diner swung open, and a figure stepped out against the blinding glow of the helicopter's lights. It was a tall man, dressed impeccably in an expensive suit, an air of authority trailing him like a heavy cloak. Jason, the man called, and instantly the atmosphere tensed. Are we ready? The discussion was over. The stakes had escalated beyond words. Lily could feel the eyes of the diners on her, the atmosphere thrumming with anticipation. The moment hung heavy. She had to decide. Jason's father eyed her expectantly, as if knowing her fate was intertwined with their own. Will you follow us? Jason pleaded, stepping closer, desperation breaking through his earlier confidence. The heavy silence folded around her like a shroud. The helicopter roared in the backdrop, a beast ready to whisk her away to unknown realms. Could she take that leap? Or was the world she cherished worth holding on to? Despite her fear, every heartbeat was a countdown. What lay before her, or behind her? Decisions, choices, the unknown all loomed larger than ever, and Lily was caught at a crossroads with the night growing dark around her. What would she be willing to trade? Her safety for a shot at something incredible? Or would she stay chained to the ordinary? The piercing sound of the helicopter thrummed in her ears, drowning out the world around her. Lily glanced at Jason, desperation etched on his face, and then shifted her gaze to the imposing figure in the doorway. He radiated confidence, his sharp suit contrasting with the diner's worn elegance. Lily, time's ticking, Jason said, urgency spilling from his words. This is the opportunity we've been talking about. You can't turn back now. The weight of his father's stare felt like a noose tightening around her neck. She could feel the diner's eyes burning into her, the curious couple still watching closely. Were they witnessing her downfall or something greater? Would they label her cowardly if she turned away? Jason, the words caught in her throat, uncertainty clawing at her resolve. She cast her gaze towards the helicopter, its doors yawning open like a mouth ready to swallow her whole. Will you trust me? Jason asked, stepping forward, his vulnerability breaking through the facade. Lily rubbed her forehead, frustration turning her pulse into a drumroll of panic. Trust you? You've met me for coffee and chased after me for a week. How do I know this isn't a trick? It's not a trick. His voice was sharp, but there was a softness too. Everything you want is further out there. I promise I will never let you regret this. Tension hummed thick in the air, swirling like the wind from the helicopter. Lily turned back towards the bustling diner, filled with the smells and laughter she had known forever. But somewhere deep inside, a yearning for something more simmered. Could this be her chance to break free from the mundane? All right, she shouted, startling many of the patrons. The jukebox cut off its tune, and silence fell. I'll go, but on one condition. Jason blinked. His father's look of surprise was almost as startling as her declaration. What condition? Jason asked, leaning in with trepidation. I want to know what I'm getting into. No more secrets. If I'm going to jump into whatever this is, I need the truth. For a moment, Jason's father's lips tightened further, casting a shadow over the moment. But then he nodded, a slow smile spreading across his face. Agreed, Lily. I appreciate your courage. You won't regret it. Before she could respond, Jason grabbed her hand, and they rushed toward the helicopter. The door swung open, revealing a plush interior that felt worlds away from the diner. But as she entered, doubt crept back in. Wait, she called out, pulling back. What if I don't like what I find? What if it's hell? Jason paused, and the expression on his face was a mix of determination and fear. Then we'll figure it out together, he replied, his voice steady. Lily took a breath, the smell of leather and metal filling her lungs. Her heart thudded in her chest as she stepped inside. The door clicked shut behind her, sealing her fate. As the helicopter lifted off, the diner became a distant speck below. The city lights twinkled like stars, but the distance felt vast, as if she were leaving behind everything she had ever known. But deep inside, a tiny spark ignited. This was the first time in a long while she felt like she might be in control. Suddenly, Jason's father turned to her, his expression shifting from charm to something more serious. Lily, I must tell you, we are not just looking for leadership. We have a network, and it's deeper than you can imagine. Are you ready for what comes next? The confession hung in the air, and suddenly the helicopter felt like a box, the four walls closing in as uncertainty clawed at her. What had she walked into? Ready? She echoed, the word teetering on the brink of comprehension. Ready for what? Just how deep does this go? She swallowed hard, waiting for a response, the thrumming of the helicopter replaced now by an echo of trepidation. Just how far had she flown away from her ordinary life? A shadow of dread flickered at the edges of her mind. With every pulse of the rotors, Lily was on the precipice of a dark unknown, and whatever lay ahead, she wasn't ready for it to consume her whole. What secrets had Jason's father been hiding that could upend her life again? Lily took a deep breath, the interior of the helicopter suddenly feeling claustrophobic. Jason's father leaned closer, his eyes piercing through her reservations. Let us be clear, Lily. This isn't just another job. It's a possibility, a game changer. But it comes with risks. Risks? She repeated, her heart slamming against her ribcage. What kind of risks? He straightened up, running a hand through his slicked back hair. The kind that could change your life forever, in ways you can't predict. There was an intensity in his gaze that made her blood run cold. The whirring of the chopper filled the silence as they soared higher. Below, the world became a patchwork of darkened streets and gleaming city outlines, a stark contrast to her life just moments ago. But I can handle it, she said, forcing confidence into her voice, though uncertainty bubbled beneath. Jason reached for her hand, squeezing it tightly. You're not alone in this, remember? Just trust me. We can stop at any time. His voice cut through the tension, reminding her of the stakes they had already established. Stop? His father scoffed. This isn't something you walk away from easily. Commit or don't. But keep in mind, knowledge can turn into a weapon. You want the truth, Lily? It's not pretty. What do you mean? She hadn't expected his words to feel like a punch to the gut. A barely audible sigh escaped him as he weighed his next words. You'll be stepping into a world cloaked in secrecy. There are people who want power and wouldn't hesitate to manipulate anyone to maintain it. You might become a pawn or, if you're clever, a queen. Either way, know your value, and know that with each decision, lives can change. Panic lapped at her. She had stepped out of the diner seeking change, but this felt like diving into a dark ocean without knowing how to swim. And what about you? What role do you play? His grin was uncanny, a mask covering something deeper and more sinister. I'm the one who pulls the strings. The network I mentioned? It connects to every corner of the city, from high society to the darkest underbelly. I need someone like you to blend in, someone with fresh eyes. Jason's grip tightened as her pulse raced, adrenaline flooding her system. Blend in? What do you want me to do? Everything churned in her mind like a storm. Assist in a deal, his father said, dismissing her concerns as if they were an afterthought. Help us negotiate access to resources we need, and you'll be rewarded beyond your current grasp. It's a steep climb, but the view? Priceless. It was too much. She felt dizzy, as if the chopper was spiraling downwards despite the steady ascent. What if I don't have what it takes? Then you'll never know, he replied, his tone sharpening. It's simple. Either let fear control you, or rise above it. For a moment, defiance ignited within her. You're throwing me into the deep end. What if it all goes wrong? This sounds like a setup. He shot her a look, his expression hardening. That is the choice, Lily. Embrace the past or forge your future with your own hands. But you must act. Time is not in our favor. And just like that, the helicopter banked sharply, tilting at an angle that stole her breath. She was being thrust into something monumental, and panic clawed at her gut. "Where are we going?" She managed to stammer, her courage slipping through her fingers. "We're about to meet someone who can help us," Jason said, his voice steady, but with an undercurrent of apprehension. "But I need you to focus. Don't overthink it." As if reading her thoughts, Jason's father leaned in, his voice low and conspiratorial. "Your adventure starts now, Lily. Strap in." The sound of the rotors droned on, drowning her doubts in a rush of wind and fate. Soon, they were descending towards an unmarked building shimmering under the moonlight, and dread pooled in her stomach as reality hit in this moment. There was no turning back. What kind of deal awaited them at the end of this descent, and would she really emerge the queen, or just another pawn lost in the shadows? The helicopter touched down with a jarring thud that reverberated through Lily's entire being. She could hear her heart racing in her ears, drowning out the low hum of the rotors. The moment the blades stilled, an unsettling silence enveloped them, heavy with expectancy. Jason released her hand, his expression serious and focused. "Stay close," he urged, and for a fleeting moment, she felt the warmth of his presence steady her swirling fears. But it was quickly eclipsed by the enigma that lay before her. The door of the helicopter swung open, and they stepped into the night. A harsh light illuminated the building's entrance, revealing a facade that was sleek and modern, but somehow foreboding. It had no signage, no identification, just an imposing structure beckoning them into its depths. A chill clawed at her spine. "What is the name of this place?" Lily asked, her voice barely a whisper, swallowed by the night's echo. "Just wait," Jason's father said, moving ahead with purpose, a shadowy figure draped in certainty. "You'll see." They walked across the gravel, each step feeling heavier than the last. The thud of her shoes against the stones seemed to punctuate the growing dread twisting in her stomach. Who were they meeting? What kind of deal was this? Unanswered questions rattled in her mind like thunder in the distance. As they approached the door, it swung open to reveal a lavish lobby, an unexpected contrast to the stark exterior. High ceilings, lavish decor, and dim lighting created an ambience that felt almost theatrical. But amidst the elegance, an underlying tension clung to the air like a film of smoke. "Follow my lead," Jason's father instructed, striding to the center of the room where a group of well-dressed individuals gathered, their chatter muted but intense. Each face turned towards them, scrutinizing. Lily's palms were sweaty, her heart hammering louder than a drum. This wasn't just meeting someone. It felt like entering a battlefield without armor. "Who are they?" she managed to ask, though every instinct screamed for her to retreat. "Players of the game," his father replied, an enigmatic smile curving at the corners of his mouth. "Just be confident. You'll do fine." Before she could respond, a man stepped forward, tall, imposing, with a polished grin that didn't reach his eyes. "Ah, Sam. Good to see you. And you must be Lily," he said, extending a hand that was poised but far from welcoming. Lily hesitated before shaking his hand, an icy shudder racing down her spine as their palms met. "Yes, I've heard you're quite the catch," he interrupted, his gaze inspecting her as if she were a prize rather than a person. "I hope you're ready for what comes next." "What comes next?" she echoed, confusion swirling like a storm inside her. "Opportunities, dear. Risks, rewards. But let us not overwhelm you," he said casually, dismissing her concern as if it were a fleeting thought. "Let us discuss the deal, shall we?" Jason's father exchanged nods with the man, and those subtle shifts in tension cascaded throughout the room like ripples on a still pond. Everyone had an agenda, and she was merely a piece in play. Suddenly, the lights flickered, casting shadows that danced along the walls. A faint crackle echoed through the air, like static before a storm. Lily felt her breath hitch in her throat. "What was that?" she asked, the hairs on her neck prickling with anxiety. "Just the beginning," Jason warned, urgency threading through his tone. "We need to be quick." Before she could process his words, a scream sliced through the air, shattering the moment, sending everyone into a frenzy. The room erupted in chaos, glass shattering, voices raised in alarm. Lily's heart plummeted. What was happening? What did she step into? "Get down," Jason shouted, grabbing her as sirens wailed in the distance. echoing off the walls. In that moment, everything around her spiraled into chaos. Would she survive this newfound world, or would she become collateral damage in a dangerous game she didn't even understand? The sound of footsteps and shouts echoed closer, and she realized they were out of time. What was lurking in the shadows, and could she trust the very people who promised to lead her to power? Lily dropped to the ground, the plush carpet giving way to a surge of panic. The room erupted into a cacophony of shouts, furniture scattering, and the sharp clinking of glass against marble. Jason's grip on her tightened, his breath hot against her ear. "Stay low, stay close." Adrenaline surged through her veins as they crawled toward the nearest wall, the sounds of chaos reverberating against her eardrums. She could barely make sense of the scene unfolding around them. Faces were twisted in panic, some transformed from polite smiles to sheer terror. "For God's sake, what is happening?" Lily gasped, her voice trembling. Jason glanced at her, a flash of fear darting across his features. I don't know. Just don't get separated." The lights flickered again, casting erratic shadows that wavered like dark phantoms. In the confusion, she caught a glimpse of the tall man with the sharp smile, now retreating into the shadows, his demeanor shifting from commanding to cowering beneath the chaos. Lily's instincts screamed at her to run, to hide. But every time she looked at Jason, she saw a boy caught in a whirlwind beyond his control. Was he really prepared for the world behind those closed doors? An ear-splitting crash resonated, and suddenly it became clear that their world was not just an elite social club, it was a battleground. Before she could process her fear, Jason pulled her further into the clearing chaos, ducking behind a potted plant as sheets of falling glass descended from above. "We can't stay here," he whispered urgently. "No way out," she protested, her voice rising as panic twisted into desperation. "We need to go," he shouted, lifting his head slightly to scan the room. His eyes widened as he caught sight of something or someone moving toward them with reckless speed. Without warning, he grabbed her wrist and yanked her towards an archway that led deeper into the building. She stumbled behind him, her heart racing in time with the frantic footsteps echoing behind them. The air thickened as anxiety cloaked them. Every breath felt heavy, charged with the fear of their next move. Rounding the corner, they skidded into a narrow corridor lined with sleek black doors. "Where are we?" she gasped, barely keeping up. "Levels," Jason muttered, his pulse quickening. "We need to get to the basement. There's a way out there." They rushed past doors, each labeled with cryptic symbols that made no sense. She barely processed them. Her mind was reeling. What had she gotten herself into? A loud crash echoed from behind them, followed by a thundering voice. "Find them. They can't escape." That voice, the one that sent chills down her spine. "Run," Jason urged, almost pulling her off her feet. They veered left into another corridor, the darkness growing thicker. Suddenly, the path widened into a larger room filled with shadows that felt alive, pulsating with a threat she couldn't define. "Don't stop," Jason hissed, just as Lily's foot caught on something. She fell, hitting the ground hard. Pain shot through her knee as it scraped against the rough tile. "Go," she urged, her voice hoarse. "No, I'm not leaving you," he cried, his eyes flashing with fear. As he bent to help her, a loud bang erupted behind them, punctuated by the unmistakable sound of a gun being fired. Lily's breath caught in her throat. In that instant, reality hung by a thread, and she realized that this moment was a crossroads, life or death. "Get up, we have to move now." As she scrambled to her feet, terror clawed at her insides, but hope surged alongside it. Who were these people, and what were they willing to do to secure their games? With Jason's hand clasping hers, they dashed toward the unknown. But the shadows were closing in fast. And just as they reached the final door, a figure stepped into their path, dark and menacing, a mirror of everything she feared. "Going somewhere?" He grinned, clarity piercing through chaos. Lily froze as realization crept in. Would this be the end of everything she'd known, or just the beginning of a much darker descent? Jason moved fast, adrenaline pumping through him. The man blocking their path towered like an ominous statue, his grin widening as he took a step closer, folding his arms. "You're not going anywhere," he taunted, voice smooth yet laced with menace. The glint of a pistol flashed in his belt, teasing danger. "Get back," Jason shouted, a fierce protector amid chaos. Lily's heart raced, pounding like a drum in her ears. Panic tightened around her throat like a vice. They were backed into a corner literally and figuratively. The shadows danced around them, pulsing with dread. "What do you want?" Jason demanded, standing a bit taller, puffing out his chest as if he could shield Lily with bravado alone. The man chuckled darkly, his eyes scanning them like a predator assessing prey. "I want the girl. Hand her over, and maybe I won't have to make a mess." "No," Jason interjected, protective instincts igniting. "If you want her, you'll have to go through me." Lily's breath hitched. Did he truly think he could take this man on? The present felt unreal, like a nightmare that she couldn't wake up from. The walls felt closer, trapping her in a cocoon of fear. "Jason, please," she whispered, scanning the room for any possibility of escape. With a wave of his hand, the taller man dismissed Jason's bravado. "Brave boy," he said, sneering. "But bravery often leads to foolishness." Suddenly, an explosion of noise erupted from the other side of the door they had just reached. More shouting, then the sound of heavy footsteps charging through the corridor. The man's eyes flickered briefly to the side, suspicion flaring. "Time's up," he said, his voice dropping to a growl. "You better decide fast." "Don't," Lily breathed, panic washing over her. Jason had become her anchor, but the thought of losing him was unbearable. Their escape hinged on a fragile thread that in one swift motion, Jason grabbed Lily's wrist and yanked her toward him. "Run," he urged, powering forward despite the raging fear in his gaze. They darted past the figure, sprinting through the darkened corridor. The tall man's shout echoed behind them, rage spilling forth. "You want to escape this. I promise you that." They ran deeper into the winding halls. Lily's legs felt like lead as terror fueled her every step. "What now?" she gasped, the world around them a blur of panic and shadows. "There's an emergency exit at the end of this hallway," Jason said, urgency sharpening his voice. "But we need to be quick." As they turned a sharp corner, they halted before a metal door, a flickering exit sign buzzing ominously above. A sense of relief washed over her. Freedom was so close, and yet the air thrummed with impending doom. With one swift motion, Jason tried the handle. Locked. His face twisted in frustration. "Damn it," he cursed under his breath, eyes darting in search of anything that could help. Lily's heart sank. She glanced back as heavy footsteps thundered down the hallway behind them, the distant figure growing closer. "What do we do?" Her voice trembled. The closing darkness swarmed like an electric storm, and she could almost taste the fear that lingered in the air. Jason's brow furrowed, his mind racing. "I'm not letting them take you, Lily." "Not now, no," she interrupted, a surge of defiance sparking in her chest. "We want to die here. Not like this." "Listen," Jason urged, panic edging into his tone. The footsteps grew louder. "There has to be a way to—" But before he could finish, the sound of the heavy door creaking open erupted, revealing a figure cloaked in darkness, eyes narrowed with cruel delight. "Welcome to the game," he said, stepping forward with a slow, deliberate menace. Lily felt the ground drop beneath her, realization hitting harder than the fear. What game had they stumbled into? And what had they really done to deserve this? As the figure gestured for them to step forward, a rapid series of thoughts raced through her mind. They could either choose to fight, to run, or to surrender. But in that moment, none of the choices felt like an option. "Prepare to lose it all," the man smirked, locking eyes with Lily. In an instant, everything twisted. Would this be the end of their struggle, or simply a prelude to something far more sinister? Just as they turned to flee, another figure materialized at the other end of the hallway, blocking their only chance. The chase was far from over. The moon hung low, illuminating the chaos as the air crackled with tension that felt almost unbearable. Breathless and shaken, Lily stood across from Jason, their backs against the metal door, heartbeats thrumming in sync like a warning drum. They had ventured deep into a world neither of them fully understood, and now they were cornered like prey, shadows creeping ever closer. The dark figure approached, malicious intent glimmering in his eyes. "Welcome to the game." Each word dripped with twisted amusement. They were trapped in the labyrinth of betrayal, with nowhere to turn. Lily's mind raced. Adrenaline coursed through her veins like fire. "We're not going down without a fight," she yelled, her voice raw with conviction. Jason stepped forward, putting himself between her and the danger looming ahead. We can't just give in. His determination sparked something in her, igniting a glimmer of hope amidst the despair. The figure grinned, an unsettling smile that sent shivers down her spine. Oh, but you already have. You chose this path, and now you must face your choices. Enough, Lily shouted, stepping around Jason. Her heart pounded, but fear transformed into raw courage. You think you can control us? We won't let you. With a flick of his wrist, chaos erupted as men surged from the shadows, their movements like predatory beasts. Panic reverberated through the air, and for a split second, Lily hesitated. But then, the weight of change pressed upon her shoulders, urging her to act. Run, she urged, grabbing Jason's arm and pulling him alongside her. They bolted into the darkness, the sounds of pursuit echoing behind them, a maddening symphony of chaos and threat that propelled them forward. They darted down the narrow corridor, the lights flickering ominously above, shadows twisting in bizarre patterns on the walls. With every pounding step, the adrenaline fueled their determination. She risked a glance over her shoulder, catching a glimpse of the dark figure, his eyes burning with relentless fervor. You think you can escape? This is only the beginning, he screamed. They burst through a door at the end of the hall, emerging into a wide-open space that felt like a different world. The stark contrast hit her like a wave of fresh air, gleaming marble floors, towering ceilings, and glass walls that stretched infinitely. Which way? Lily gasped, dread swelling in her chest as the sound of footsteps grew louder behind them. Over there. Jason pointed toward a staircase leading up, desperation fueling his voice. They charged forward, hearts racing like wild horses as they scrambled toward the safety of higher ground. At the top, they burst through to a sunlit rooftop terrace. The chill of the wind swept over them, and for a second, it felt like they had escaped the claws of the abyss. The helicopter hovered above, its blades slicing the air, waiting to whisk them away from danger. Get ready, Jason shouted, signaling for her to move faster. Relief surged in her chest, and panic faded for a moment, but a sudden chill crept up her spine. Lily could feel it, the presence of something dark still lurking behind them. We can't lose this chance. As they made for the helicopter, a sudden shout rang out from behind them. No, you're not leaving. The icy grip of reality sank in as Jason spun around, his expression hardening. Go. I'll hold them back. Confusion swelled in her chest. What? No, I can't leave you behind. We don't have time. He bellowed, determination etched on his face. You can make it. Just trust me. With tears welling in her eyes, she hesitated, but reality crashed down. Her heart ached with the weight of their situation. No, Jason, she cried, agony piercing through her chest as the menacing figures neared. Go, Lily, go, he shouted, forcing her to look into his eyes, those fierce, determined eyes that promised strength. In that moment, they both understood. It was now or never. With one last look, she turned and ran toward the helicopter, calling for the pilot. Take us up. Hurry. As the distant shouts grew louder, time slipped from their fingers, stretching into unbearable silence. The helicopter lifted off as Jason faced their attackers, moving with the ferocity of a lion, refusing to let her forget the reason she fought. Above, the city sprawled beneath them, a sea of lights and a world waiting beyond danger. But as they gained altitude, her heart twisted. Would Jason be all right? She shook her head, resolutely pushing the fear aside. He was strong. He could handle it. Are you okay? The pilot shouted over the whirring of the blades. Lily took a deep breath, shaking off the chaos. Just need to get out of here. She barely recognized her own voice, hoarse yet filled with newfound strength. But as they soared higher, a memory flickered through her mind, Jason's father's words about power, choices, and consequences. Nothing was ever simple in the games they played. The roiling dread returned, but beneath it lay a fierce yearning for something more. Descending from the weight of the darkness, she knew this was just the beginning. A world of untold possibilities awaited her, a road filled with risks she hadn't yet seen. But she would not face it alone. As the helicopter sped into the horizon, free from the shadows, her chest tightened with resolve. Whatever awaited her, she would embrace it. Together with Jason and whatever lies ahead, she was ready to become something more. Alright, friends, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss our next exclusive stories that are just around the corner. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm and keep the momentum going. And flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. What do you think happens next? Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support makes a world of difference. Let us build this incredible community together.